Welcome back to DXB today. Welcome back to the show where we are investigating or certainly looking into whether there's something special. Is there a special sauce out there when it comes to startups in this extraordinary city? And more people are being prompted to jump into or make their side hustle something more than a side hustle. Question we're putting to a number of experts. And our next guest is exactly that, an expert driving innovation and success in the venture capital space at the moment, catering to the needs of startups and investors alike here in the region. Please welcome to the show, Lachlan Hughes. Good to see you, Lachlan. Thanks so much indeed for joining us.
My pleasure, great to be here,
Great
Tom.
to have you on board. So let's start with that one. Something in the water, special sauce. You can take an international perspective on the UAE. We make a lot of song and dance about the fact that there is something unique going on here in Dubai, and when it comes to the SME, the startup space. Is there?
I believe so, yeah. I think there's a few things that makes Dubai and the broader region relatively attractive compared to some of the more, shall we say, mature venture markets. The demographics are very favourable for investing in early stage technology companies. You've got young, digitally savvy people and still a lot of white space to solve for. There's lots of models that we've seen succeed in the US or Europe that are just sort of starting to flourish here now, and that's a thematic that investors are very keen to kind of invest behind. Ease of doing business also, you guys touched upon it before, it's very easy to set up a company and get going, and there's a lot of capital around. That always helps when you're trying to build a startup.
Yeah?
A little bit of money always helps.
A little bit of that, yeah, okay.
Lachlan, how does your company, Aditum, I hope I'm saying it correctly, help new businesses grow from especially their early stages when they really need that little extra push?
Yeah, sure. We can't take too much credit for what we do. We're first and foremost a capital provider like any other investor, but capital is a commodity, and so every investor kind of needs to think about what helps them differentiate and support founders a little bit more than just the cash, as I'm sure you'll appreciate. So for us, that is, first and foremost just being a sounding board and a partner to the founder. It's a pretty lonely road being a founder. It can be tough. So having somebody that you can kind of call late at night, any hours, and say, hey, I'm thinking about pivoting the business this way or that way, what do you think? That's one role that we play, helping founders mature as they go through the different stages of funding. So, if you're a first-time founder, you've raised some pre-seed capital, great. What does your Series A need to look like? So that next round of funding, do you need to change your company structure, sort of more tactical things like that as well. And then we try and leverage our expertise and expertise to make introductions and referrals to other investors as the business grows and needs more capital.
That's really interesting. I have a question for you.
Sure.
So if an entrepreneur is trying to raise capital, and capital is a commodity as you say, why should an investor choose to work with you?
Well, hopefully some of those aforementioned reasons, but I would think that those are kind of table stakes for any investor, right? Being helpful, making introductions. Our fund strategy is somewhat unique, and we're seeing more and more of this in the region where we are focused exclusively on B2B business models.
B2B.
The other funds that focus exclusively on sectors, and we do have sort of a strong bias towards a couple of core sectors. So we like to think, we're not a fit for every founder. If you're doing a B2C startup, we're probably not the right people. We'll make helpful introductions. But if you're trying to scale a B2B software business in the region, then we think we maybe have a little bit more of an understanding of what it takes to build those business models. Maybe we have a few more introductions or a few more names in the Rolodex that we can sort of assist with as well. So I think sector expertise helps us sort of help founders a little bit more.
Watch out for that one over there.
Yeah,
Who's up
mate,
funding at the moment?
I'm well up for it. Let's do this, man.
All right, pitch me.
So I'm looking at the global
30
scale.
seconds.
Right, this is it, my elevator pitch. Global. I'm thinking global. Does someone who thinks global have a better position for you to invest in?
Yeah, obviously anything on a global scale is a bigger market, and investors will always look at what is the market size. I think there's lots of business models and startups that focus on the region. They've adapted to the region, and that actually serves as a bit of a moat from global competitors, and the region's big enough for them. There are other business models that do need to be global. If you're doing something quite niche, you probably want to be the best in the world at that, right? Some niche bit of B2B software or something. So for us, it's a mix of both. It really depends on how big your market is.
Is there a risk of FOMO here at the moment? Because there's so much chat about the startup space at the moment, and because we've been mentioning about side hustles, and it means that you can't be here unless you've got a side hustle going on. It's that land of opportunity. Are there people getting into the space because they feel that they need to be in the space without properly thinking it through?
Look, it's a big decision to leave your job. You know, these people are usually experts in something, and so we don't see too much sort of, I guess you would call cavalier or entrepreneur, where you're doing it to be trendy. It's a big commitment to run a startup. So you know, everyone we meet on a day-to-day basis, and we meet many startups throughout the course of any given day, are credible, well thought out folks. So yeah, there's maybe a bit of FOMO at times on the investor side with capital sloshing around and things like that. But I think we're in a pretty healthy, rational market now.
So to end up, Lachlan, what would you say is something that you would invest in, that you're looking at that's hot right now?
Yeah. So we, you know, as I mentioned, we've built our whole fund thesis around B2B, and you know, if I step back and look at how the ecosystem's evolved over time, similar to many other emerging ecosystems, there's a bit of a flurry on B2C innovations, which is obvious. Founders are consumers first, and they find problems that they want to solve. As those businesses scale, you tend to find that there's some back-end pieces of the puzzle or infrastructure that are required to support those businesses. So, you know, digital ID verification, payment processing, things like that. So that's a space that we think is really interesting. So that's a space we're excited about.
Wonderful.
Service.
B2B scaling digital
Service, that's right.
services.
Exactly.
Okay.
Lane, I know that you'll be definitely exchanging numbers with Lachlan a little
We've
bit
done
later. Please stay with us. There's lots more we want to chat to you about, because now it's time for our spotlight. And today's spotlight is on a home decor company combining beauty and conscious living through authentic designs and ethical sourcing practices. This is Neeti Tandon Kashyap from Curate Homes.
I'm Neeti. I'm the founder of Curate Home. Curate Home is an artisanal home decor and lifestyle brand. We aim to bring joy to everyday life, to make every day special, all while keeping in mind and being mindful and respectful of ethical manufacturing and sourcing practices. We all live in contemporary homes, and on the other side, there's so much beauty in handcrafted, in things that are made by hand, which are handed down over generations through craftspeople, artisans. So we wanted to bring all of that know-how and yet offer them in a style and in a design that we can all use in contemporary living. I'd say the biggest challenge is perception. Anytime anybody hears the word responsible design or sustainable design, the first thing that comes to your head is, oh, that must be really expensive. It doesn't need to be. You know, the way we source is we get it directly from people who had this know-how of creating these products, or they come from geographies that are local to these products. So, you know, and we cut out middle people from the whole supply chain. So what if I were to tell you that, you know, if you can buy the same product that you want, but consciously, you're making a very responsible decision when you shop from us. So that's been the biggest challenge. I think the biggest strength is the number of nationalities, cultures who live here. We manage to serve people from so many different nationalities and cultures, all while living in UAE, in Dubai. Dubai is home. I don't know how to describe that. Dubai is more than just a city, it's home. It's where I've been now for 20 years. Can't think of living anywhere else. It's where I am safe. It's where I recharge. It's where I reach out from. It's, there's no city quite like Dubai anywhere else in the world.
Curate Home, answering the why Dubai question we ask every single episode, eh? Right, from that roundup, it's time for our very own roundup. Who's got this one today? Lane.
Pick me. Yes, now, what do I have for you today, Tom? Well, we're going to talk about startups and keep with the theme. So we're talking about the UAE startup, which is called Alan, which is now in Arabic, I believe. It's a leading fintech company that ranks #1 globally for expense management for G2 for spring 2024, being the first company in the Middle East to integrate open AI technologies into its operation and the startup. It scored highly across various metrics, including quality of support, ease of use, and overall market presence. So what does this mean for the region as a whole?
I think it's just to kick things off. I mean, it's great success individually, of course, but that is just indicative of the investment into this space at the moment. And again, the excitement of this particular space, I mean, we call it whatever you want, fintech, we call it AI investment, we call it tech investment, etc. But that is certainly one of the sort of buzz areas at the moment for investors, founders, and otherwise, correct?
Right. It's all over. I mean, it's talk of the town. People are all into startups at this point.
But is that being driven by the interest in AI, do you think, or not?
I think AI is, going to be a pretty key horizontal technology that's going to cut across every sector. So there's a lot of hype about it at the moment, but I think the hype is sort of warranted, right? We look across our portfolio, and there's not a company in there that couldn't and shouldn't be leveraging AI to improve the service. That doesn't make them AI companies, and we sort of recommend them not to market themselves as AI companies if they're sort of using it in bits and bobs. But I think it's something that should be on the radar of every sort of startup.
I think you've just hit the nail on the head for me, and it goes back to that original question I made about FOMO as well. Especially when in this field where a lot of people go, okay, AI, but I don't really understand it. Okay, tech, yeah, but I don't really understand it. And so people want to be involved because they've seen the extraordinary success stories that have helped build Silicon Valley and other parts of the world, etc., and go, okay, I don't want to miss the bus on this one. That's why there's so much interest. But as you say, tread with caution to a certain degree.
Wherever there's a boom, there'll be some cowboys trying to make the most of it. So we're sometimes a little bit more skeptical of folks that are saying it's an AI-first company and unpick whether that really is. But any vertical market software company should be incorporating AI into their product strategy for sure.
Yeah, even TV shows.
Even TV shows. Tom GPT.
Lachlan,
There
thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Next up, we are getting insights into the startup ecosystem with an expert investor and podcaster, Lulu Kazan. We've got a keyboard and some electric drums on set to keep you hooked, so please stay with us.